Hi, I'm Stephanie Valinsky, Deputy Director at the Illinois Supreme Court Commission on Professionalism. Welcome to Reimagining Law. We're exploring how legal professionals are adapting the delivery of legal services to meet the needs of today's consumers. I'm joined today by Jeff Bunn, retired litigation attorney and founding member of the Mindful Law Coaching and Consulting Group, LLC. Jeff, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a delight. Thank you for having me.
So starting with, your legal career, how did your legal career lead you to become an advocate for mindfulness and well-being for lawyers?
Well, talking about my career, it definitely was a case of unintended consequences for sure. What was happening was I practiced for about 40 years, and over a period of time, the pressure of trying to build a book of business, maintain the business, be a good lawyer, and the apparent indifference of clients, partners, opposing counsel to the pressures of the practice. Really, over time, I realized it had created a sense of anxiety in me. It was an anxiety that was often masked by a kind of anger, because that's what we were taught to be, the angry young man. So I resorted to exercise. The practice drove me to exercise. Exercise became kind of my coping mechanism, as it were, for dealing with that anxiety. I was a long distance runner. I got injured as a kind of a low impact, no impact alternative to long distance running. I started taking up yoga. There were yoga classes at the Board of Trade building in downtown Chicago. And through yoga, I developed more of a kind of awareness of self-care. And from the awareness of self-care flowed an interest in meditation, which I thought for the longest time had nothing to do with the practice of law, but I have come to realize that actually it has a lot to do with the practice of law. And I wanted to share that, and that's kind of how, in a very roundabout way, the profession drove me to become an advocate. I want to share. I want the profession to improve.
Great. No, that's awesome. And in terms of how do you, for the audience, kind of how do you define mindfulness, and also why do you think lawyers are so adverse to mindfulness and meditation?
Well, it's interesting. First of all, starting with the first question, mindfulness. What is it? Mindfulness is, for me, different than meditation. Meditation is kind of a means to an end. The end is mindfulness. And for me, I had really thought of mindfulness for the longest time in kind of the classical terms as it was defined by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is the guy who brought meditation and mindfulness from the East to the West. But because of family circumstances, I've spent a lot of time recently with my 4-year-old. And there are lots of moments when he is, we like to go out for bike rides and walks. And he is just so locked and so loaded and so in the moment that all of a sudden I started to think about mindfulness in a way that's a little bit different than kind of classical or traditional way. So for me, the definition of mindfulness, again, which is different than meditation, is it's an ability that we're all born with, that we need to work through meditation, for me, to access. And it's an ability to engage with people, places, things with a sense of immediacy, and without any notion as to the circumstances that may have led us to a particular moment, a particular encounter, or the consequences that may flow from that particular encounter. And that's what mindfulness is for me. It's the old thing about being in the present moment. It's childlike, but not childish. That's my take on mindfulness. Why is it so hard for lawyers to accept? This is a question that I've been wrestling with for a good long time. And I think a lot of it is kind of educational. Law schools, law firms, train us to be a certain way. They model behavior that suggests there is a quote unquote right way to practice law. I just don't agree that that's necessarily, it's been tremendously useful for a very long time, but on a go forward basis, I'm not so sure that it really is the way things need to be. The law has become, for me at least, far too transactional and not nearly enough reflective of the appreciation of the women and men who actually comprise the profession. And a lot of what, aside from that, on the educational front, a lot of what I wrestle with is the issue of predictability, but res judicata. It's what we're taught to do. That's the way the world is all, in the future, it will be the way it was. It has to be. That's just the way we think. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever the case may be, that's not the way it is. So the idea of certainty, which is kind of drummed into us, and it's certainly kind of inculcated in the law, is, I think, not realistic. There's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of uncertainty in arguments, in results that we get for our clients as we argue. And dealing with that uncertainty in a healthy way is really what I think meditation and mindfulness is all about. And that's why I think it does have a very important role to play in the practice of law.
All right. And I think uncertainty is a good word to use these days during this global pandemic. And I have a quote that I really enjoy from Pema Chodron, who is pretty well known in this mindfulness space. She says the root of suffering is resisting the certainty that no matter what the circumstances, uncertainty is all we truly have. So,
share such good company.
yeah, there you go. So what, there's so much uncertainty in the world right now. Obviously, the legal profession is not immune to that. So what are some practical ways that lawyers can manage this uncertainty right now?
Well, I think you hit on a very important word, managing. Management of our thoughts and emotions. It's really about, to me, self-regulation in dealings with difficult clients, difficult partners, difficult work peers, opposing counsel, judges. There are plenty of moments where we're caused to react to certain things. And just being able to regulate that process a little bit is going to, I think, lead us to respond in ways that are a lot more along the lines of what we would like to think of, rather than have those moments of, oh gosh, I wish I didn't say this or do that. We'd like to be a little bit more conscious about what we're doing. So how do we do that? How could that happen? I think it could happen if firms or associations were to adopt or design programs that help us kind of exercise that right part of our brain. Because to me, meditation is brain training. And law firms in particular can make time. They can create policies that maybe in terms of internal expectations, our monthly billables, whatever it might be, we can, a firm can consider affording its men and women X number of hours a month toward credit to be added to their kind of monthly billable expectations. Law firms can create spaces. We all own lots of real estate. It could be a conference room. It could be an office. It could be an internal office that people don't really use. We've converted it into war rooms. Well, we could actually make it you call it whatever you want. Meditation room or a place for your own, just to sit and to enjoy a little bit of me time, and then create or communicate a policy that it's actually okay to use that room. It's actually okay to claim credit for however many hours it might be, a week, a month, or what have you, toward satisfying billable hour requirements. And it's okay to learn how to, actually it's something we want to encourage, how to people to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. Make your point. Do what you're required ethically to do. Argue the point, argue your position, but it's not personal. They don't have to make it personal. You have to demonize the woman or man on the other side of the argument. And I think that applies not only to all of us lawyers, but lawyers and judges as well.
Okay. And you talk about law firms, and you also mentioned briefly bar associations. And so what can, in addition to what law firms can do, what can bar associations do, and just the profession as a whole, to really, help with, the high rate of, mental health and, even substance use issues in the profession that we've been starting to talk about for the past few years?
Well, that's a great question. And it really does get back to, I think, the title that you've chosen for this whole series of Reimagining the Law. How can we reimagine the law? Even though I'm retired, I have a perspective on how we can reimagine the law. And it's not, I don't think, a perspective that's so far out of step with the women and men who continue to actively practice today. A lot of what I think law firms can do, bar associations can do, any group, be it the IJB, whatever, it could be lawyers or judges, let people know through word and deed that the law is, or the legal profession is one that can embrace a culture of care, specifically self-care, and to reimagine the practice of law as a profession that values individuals, people, as well as professionals, because I think we can be both. Lawyers are very capable. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can be the advocates, the zealous advocates that we need to be, that we're required to be under our rules. But we can also have our own personal practices or routines or habits that understand and address our personal needs. We can be both. And that's the way I would like to see us reimagine the law, is to continue to insist that we conduct ourselves civilly, professionally, hit all the marks that we're required to do, prepare for an argument or position, and also take care of ourselves. I think it's really important.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. We don't hear it enough in the legal profession. So thank you so much for the insights, Jeff, and thank you so much for joining me today. Please, for those watching, like and share this video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on new episodes. Information on how to stay connected with both the Commission and the Mindful Law and Consulting Group is in the notes. And thank you so much for watching.